Jennifer, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I don't run this call. I believe this is a Cacti community call. I don't run this call. That community does, but they usually start a couple minutes after the hour to give folks a chance to get settled. Hey, Rama, welcome. And the recording's on. It's all yours, Peter.
Thank you, Sean. Welcome everyone to the Hyperledger Cacti Maintainers meeting. Please abide by the antitrust policy notice that we're showing on the screen, and also the Hyperledger Code of Conduct, which you can find linked to on the agenda document. So with that said, I had two things. One is the project name. I know that the LFTT cutover / transition is coming, so I wanted to pose the question to the maintainers. Do we want to change the project name or leave it as is? What are the thoughts for everybody? And of course, the other thing is, whatever we decide should be decided by everyone being able to voice their opinion, all the maintainers. We do not have a full quorum right now, so it's not a decision we can make right now, in my opinion. But I wanted to kick it off, nevertheless. So does anyone have any thoughts?
Is there a reason to change it? Or it's just an opportunity that you know?
I would say it's just an opportunity, if we want to. So I'm not pushing for it nor against it. It's just something that if we feel strongly about as a group, then we could do. But yeah, I just leave it up to the maintainers without expressing any opinions or anything.
And for now, I'm kind of biased towards just keeping it because there's so much you'd have to change if you change the name, not to mention the logo. And yeah, there's a branding, advertisement, and all of that. So, but yeah, I'll go with whatever others decide. If you have a vote, I'll cast my vote accordingly.
Okay, that sounds good. Sandeep, anything from you? Or is it the same as Rama?
Yeah, same as I would prefer the current name.
Okay. Izuru, I see you joined in the meantime.
Oh,
Welcome.
yes. Hello, everybody. I also have a similar opinion with Rama, and I think changing the name.
Can't hear you very well, Isru. The same for others? Right?
The volume is a bit low.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes. Yeah, I also think that changing name is something we want to avoid if we can avoid it.
Makes sense. I see a pattern emerge.
I
Just
have a
to ask.
contrary opinion. I don't know if I have the right to express it, but I just want to point out that all of the projects, in my opinion, are not very well, like, it would be better served if they said what they did. And because as someone that's new to Hyperledger, having to work out that Bezu is X and Cacti is Y is a bit of a challenge. So I've always wondered why they didn't follow a plain naming principle.
Should give the history
Well,
behind the cactus name, Peter.
so it was originally called Blockchain Integration Framework, which is as descriptive as we could get. The reason why we wanted a shorter name is because people who are well versed in marketing said that it's better to have something short and catchy that rolls off the tongue better. Because
Just to
the
avoid
longer it
acronyms?
is, just to
Okay.
avoid what? Sorry.
To avoid acronyms?
Sorry, I'm not sure I know that word.
Acronym.
Oh,
I-
acronym. Oh, no. I mean, yeah. Basically, if you have a long expression instead of just a single word, then people tend to have more gravitational push against it
Okay.
because it's complicated. But at the same time, now if it's cacti, they have to learn the mapping.
Hmm.
So there's definitely a downside. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean the name Cact. Sorry, Sean, go on.
No, Rum, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just Jennifer, my name is Sean. I'm part of the staff. Way back in the dawn of time, my team contributed Hyperledger Indy. And one of the reasons why we chose the name Indy was there was a trademark conflict with the original name of the code base. But also the other Hyperledger projects, I think they were named like Aroha and Fabric and Sawtooth. Um, and we were just mapping to what everybody else was doing. As far as staff is concerned, we support the maintainers. So if y'all want to change, like we are for it. If you want to keep it, we are all for that too. It's got to be a collective decision by the folks doing the work. On another project that I'm on, to your point, Jennifer, we are having issues where we have either projects coming up with code names that are also trademark conflicts, or they're so explicit that like we have 6 ST-Jot projects. ST-Jot Kotlin, ST-Jot Swift, ST-Jot this, ST-Jot that, and it's sort of it's the other side of the problem you're having, where we're so explicit in what the name is, we have half a dozen things that all sound the same. Naming is hard. That's the only point of my comment. Ram, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no. I mean, I think that was uh, 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 that's some history that I also didn't know, and so it was good that you expressed your thoughts on that. I was just going to say, mention why the names that we have came up. So I think Peter and team were at a Hyperledger Global Forum, which used to be the main annual Hyperledger conference, and when this project was proposed as the main Hyperledger project, it was held. The conference was held in Phoenix. So the name that was sort of a low-hanging fruit was cactus, because you have a lot of cacti in the area. And then when later on 2 years ago we were merging cactus with the Weaver Lab project, which Sandeep and I were working on at the time. We wanted to figure out a way which would express the fact that this was the new project was consisted of multiple older projects, and also it had some continuity with the older project, which is Cactus. Therefore, Cacti was a logical name to have there. So
Thank
Yep,
you. Thank you for your explanation.
and from my side, I also just want to put it there that I realized I sounded like I'm putting some sort of blame on the marketing team. I'm not. It's it dawned on me after Sean's beautiful explanation that the reason there are good reasons for what marketing and legal is advising us to do, and it's a minefield. So I remember my general attitude at the time when we were selecting names was that anything that is short and it's an English word that is relatively easy to spell and say for everyone is good, as long as legal and everyone else approves of it, so that we don't get into trouble with the name. And the number of names in existence in the English language that qualify for all of those boxes, that ticks all those boxes, is surprisingly low. If you go out there and start to find a name for pretty much anything, it will be hard, not just because there's already everything taken, but also because even the ones that are not taken are in some other context taken, and then you cannot actually use it. So that's way too much talk from me from the naming, but that is the full context of all the constraints, the parameters, and the considerations. And it's good
Yeah,
because we
and
have it on recording.
yeah, and like you said, some names that might fit a particular project may already have been taken. Like, I think Fabric would have been a good name for an intra project, but it's already taken. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the last bit, then I'll stop, is to put it in context, the naming process took several months because of all these constraints. So when Sean's is naming things as hard as, that's how hard it is. It was, I think it was 7 months for us to settle on a name at the time that was approved by everybody and if we could actually use it. And so by the time you get to that 7th month, you're basically like, I'll take anything that's approved by everyone and is not 15 characters and it's easy to spell. Okay. So the second quick agenda item I had is just a heads up for everyone that I will cut an RC4 release. And it will have the merge freeze in effect because otherwise the changelog gets messed up. So please try to review it in a timely manner just because of that. If we don't review the release PR quickly, then it ends up holding back all the other PRs behind it. So that was my little announcement / request. And other than that, I don't have any topics. So does anyone have any ad hoc discussion items?
Yes. But they'll take up a lot of time.
Well, this
So,
is the time to do it. But we
okay.
ran out of the official quote unquote ones, so it's time for the ad hoc ones, which is open forum. So please go ahead.
So we better ask if anybody else has anything prior.
Nothing for me.
nope, here to answer your question, James.
Okay, so for I have once I pulled in some of the Weaver libraries, I wasn't able to compile under CI. So because the really important library, the one with the prototypes, isn't checked in. I put this on Discord last night, but some of you may not have had a chance to see it. So those prototype libraries are generated on the fly, so they can't be compiled at the time that CI runs or with the pre-build because they need to be generated, and the tool for generating them isn't on the CI machine at that time. So we could see this as an opportunity to move the CI build process to one based on dev container, which would save some time, which would save a lot of CI time. But it's a little bit involved for this particular problem where there might be a more simple solution.
So building and go on.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, please.
The problem be solved at least temporarily if we just if we build and check in the compiled protobuf JavaScript files. Okay.
Yeah, that would be a simple solution.
Peter?
What is the size of those in terms of like megabytes, gigabytes? What are we talking about?
Sandeep, any idea?
It won't be in the megabytes, I suppose.
Yeah, less than that.
But there would be lots of like there will be some fabric, Hyperledger fabric protobufs also checked in because of that.
Mhm.
There are very few of them though. I think we only take the clear ones, right?
Yeah.
So I would say as long as it's under, let's say, 5 megabytes, I'm personally okay with committing them into Git. I try to guard against us committing stuff, but I mean stuff that is compiled in large amounts of code, because eventually it's just going to balloon to gigabytes for the repo. But this sounds like a pain point, and this is the right time for me to be like, I'll give up my obsession with having a small Git repository. And so if it's 5 or a maximum of 10 megabytes, I personally would be okay with it, to just commit it to Git and get the move on, just so that we can progress quickly, because I'm always worried that with my ideas, I slow down contributions sometimes. So I'm very explicitly trying not to do that here. So do you think it would fit in that 5 to 10 megabyte window?
I think so.
Okay, so then my suggestion would be start with that just to get it working, to allow us to just move. But at the same time, I like the container idea. I've been supporting that for a long time too. And I also don't know if there's any better alternatives or some slightly different way of going about it, but we won't know if we won't try. So I would recommend trying to put together an experimental pull request, or if that's too much effort, then maybe just open an issue and detail the implementation idea on a slightly more detailed basis, so that we can kick off a conversation. And please make sure to tag me on that. So there's a bunch of these different options to just start with it, but start with low effort and then see where it takes us, with the acknowledgement that it might not take us anywhere, but usually it does, and then it's good stuff.
Okay, so I'll check in the prototypes to get going and open a do some experimenting on the dev container build. I think that's a good long-term solution to have some flexibility, and it would save a lot of CI time. But it's a big project.
Yeah, the trick is to somehow try to narrow the scope of it so that you don't have to invest 100 hours of work up front, just maybe 5. That's usually where I have to think hard about how to do these quick slices of work that somehow give some value without me investing too much. Because if I invest too much and then it turns out that there's some other constraint or whatever, then I lost a lot of time.
Mhm.
So I always recommend trying to just make it for a specific package, not all of them, or somehow else just design it as a quick experiment instead of immediately going to the full thing. And then you usually learn a lot from that initial quick experiment. It gives you confidence whether you want to invest for the full thing or not. That's I know it's pretty generic, but that's as specific as I can get without myself just getting to work on it, to be honest.
Sure. So my other major stumbling block, well, it's not. I think Rama, we've been talking about. Initially, we had the method set of pledge, lock, and claim, with the idea that claiming, that lock and pledge are sort of similar but used in different contexts. So I was thinking that a good solution for now for the command set, given that claiming locks and claiming pledges work a bit differently, that we just make explicit what we're doing in the API. And I would show you, and also remembering the other major question I had was that, well, the input of the different commands is different. So it's not that easy to blend them. Because for instance, there's a hash mechanism and a secret in the HTLC based commands that isn't there in just the vanilla pledge and claim. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I wasn't actually trying to encourage you to merge them. It was, but I didn't remember what we had discussed. I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, if we were to merge them, it would not be a merge. It would just be like a high-level switch. You'd have a function, a wrapper function, which would switch at in the beginning to either doing one or the other. Which but then you would have to provide a laundry list of parameters to that function. I think what you just suggested is good. Let's just keep them separate.
okay, sounds good.
Let's just port the functionality, and yeah, we can rename things later.
Good. Should I try and use the Node interrupt SDK? Because I've been using the Fabric CLI as my example, but then I realized, oh, there's all this stuff in the Node SDK.
Well, the Fabric CLI actually imports the Node SDK and runs functions through that.
Oh, does it? All right.
Yeah.
It wasn't clear how those two fit together.
Yeah, no, the Fabric CLI is kind of a mess. If you have a better thing to replace it with, then
Okay. Those are all my questions.
cool. Yep. And as always, feel free to ask on Discord, and I'll respond as soon as I can see your question.
And feel free to join the pair programming sessions. I know sometimes it gets delayed or pushed up, but it's usually there, and I'm always happy to try and look into stuff as well.
Sure.
Okay, I think we've already checked if anyone else had any other questions or topics to discuss, but I'm going to give you one last chance. If you have something, then please speak up now, otherwise we'll just close the call. Going first, going second. All right, so that's a wrap then. Thank you everyone for joining, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Rama.